You are listening to All Burgundy and Gold, everything with the urban sports scene on Fox Sports Radio, 96.9 FM and 1340 AM, Hopewell, Virginia. Mo and Wole are your hosts. Ray Jeezy is out. Mo, man, what is good, my dude?
Ain't much, bro. How are you?
It's hurting, man. Like, I'm about to go in, though. I ain't gonna lie. This is the show to go in because this Washington football team is straight trash. I should listen to my African brother who kept it a buck with me. You know what I'm saying? He told me this, bro. He told me this. You know what I'm saying? My African brother told me. He said, Wole, bro, the worst thing in the world was for this team to go 7-9 and win the division. And I'm like, first I'm arguing like, nah, man, nah. And then I'm looking at it like, yeah, you right, bro. Yeah, you right. You right. You know what I'm saying?
We all see it a little different, man. It's hard when your team ain't, when your team don't have consistent success, and then they come upon it one of those years where things start to add up. Yeah. And things were adding up even in the tumultuous state in which you guys were with the Haskins drama. Yeah. Coach's cancer battle, right? Mm-hmm. You had this new face of the franchise, number two pick in the draft coming in, saying all the right things, looking the part, adding to the best part of your defense. Adding to the best part of your defense. And then as fate will have it, you have the ultimate comeback story last year with Alex Smith. It's hard not to jump on that train. Yeah. Especially for a man that was not supposed to ever play again. Facts. Ended up having to play first game, sees Aaron Donald on his back. The man goes through that and survives that. And you're looking like, okay. Yeah. Okay, if he can say that. Right. And then he starts winning some games, and then the schedule was favorable, and you guys go on a little run towards the end. So, I mean, I understand it, but I know as a fan, and I know if it wasn't your team, I know you would look at a larger sample size, right? And it's hard to tell a fan to look at a larger sample size because we're so invested in the moment. So like, you're talking about, you cover this team on multiple podcasts, you watch every Sunday religiously, everything. You're so invested that it's like, you know better. Yeah. But it's like, damn, it feels good. You know what I mean?
It felt good, bro. It felt good. It felt good, man. Like, you talk top 3D. It felt good. But I didn't expect bad coaching. But we'll get into that, though. We'll get into that. Compared to, we'll definitely get into it. Hey, subscribe to our podcast on Spotify, Stitcher, iTunes, Google Podcasts. Just search All Burgundy and Gold, everything with the Urban Sports Scene. Also, tweet us at Urban Sports Scene and hit us up on our Urban Sports Scene Facebook page. We're going to get into the pregame. Here's what we have on tap. We are going to recap the Washington football team losing to the New Orleans Saints 33-22 and their upcoming game against the Kansas City Chiefs, where we expect for them to get blown out. But let's get into it. All right. Let's get right into it. The Washington football team lost. I know. Well, lost to the New Orleans Saints 33-22. Man, your thoughts on the game, bro. I want to get your thoughts on it. Non-fanalistic thoughts.
My thoughts on the game come down to two. I have two takes that I think stand out to me. The first one and the most obvious were the breakdowns in coverage by the secondary. Right? You're talking about Landon Collins failing to get the proper depth in a scheme that allows a 72-yard touchdown behind his head.
Dante Harris.
Dante Harris, who's known, special teams ace, punt returner. I believe he was a Pro Bowler last year, or the year before. And not really renowned for his receiving, but like can make a play. Yeah. And has elite speed. So and it what was maddening about it was literally the same concept from the week before when Cordero Patterson scored on a deep ball. Yeah. In the Atlanta game that you guys overcame and won the game, So then you talk about the Hail Mary at the end of the half. My goodness.
Was that the worst way to play Hail Mary though? Like the worst absolute way?
Absolute worst. I've never seen such an uncontested Hail Mary in my life.
Oh my God. That was, God. And we talked about a little bit about this at the pregame show, but yeah, it was the absolute worst Hail Mary.
This is crazy. You talk about 3 men boxed out by one person, like literally he jumps up uncontested. He catches it in his chest.
Yes.
Catches it in his chest.
That's Mo, there was like a good I want to say 3 to 4 receivers that had a great opportunity to make the catch if it wasn't going to him.
I don't understand how the spacing on that got so bad.
Me too, bro.
We talk about the last touchdown to Callaway, also the 12-yarder, in which you can see they were trying to run a rub route.
Yeah.
And the rub route, he goes underneath and goes back up to the wheel, and St. Juice couldn't get over because they didn't communicate properly to pass it on.
Yeah.
To pass it on. So
I think with Fuller, right? Wasn't that with Fuller? I want to say it's Fuller, but I could be wrong. Was he trying to talk to Fuller on that play?
He was the corner the most inside. So
okay. All right. Got you. So Fuller didn't talk. I got you. To the outside. You're right. No, I know you're correct. I know exactly what you're talking about.
So he was the corner close to the inside of the defense. So he had to go up and over 2 defenders and receivers who were seemingly running routes, but knowing that they were trying to clear that space out. Yeah. And it just looked like another bad breakdown. Yeah. So secondary breakdowns is a big thing here. And the next one was Taylor Heineke coming back down to earth and looking like a player that hasn't had that much experience. And we knew it was going to come. Me getting on the Taylor Heineke bandwagon because I have to give him his credit, and joining the people that were already there. We knew this day was going to come where he was going to face a defense and not look his best, right? Yeah. And it was, we can say that a big part of it was that the job that the Saints did on Terry McLaurin.
My God! Well, you got to say Lattimore. That's what you got.
Yeah, Lattimore, but Lattimore was getting help.
Yeah, he was getting help. No, it definitely was. It was, but he did. But he did some. He made it hard. He made it hard though.
He made it difficult. He contested a lot. Hey, like I said in the post game interview back on Sunday, there's a lot of familiarity there.
Yeah,
we talk about 2 guys that know each other inside and out. Yeah. So when you know each other inside and out, then you go watch tape. It's just like, okay, what little intricacies have he added to his game by now? And then is a lot of things in football at the NFL level is based on formation and alignment, right? You can narrow down certain things. At that point, ability is the only thing that gets you open, that separates you, gets you open. And you got an elite corner that's a Pro Bowler year in and year out since he's come in, and you have an up and coming elite wide receiver. So, Marshawn Lattimore won the battle that day, and that's going to happen. Those days are going to come. They're not going to come too often with Terry McLaurin being as good as he is. But Lattimore won the battle. Lattimore and the defense won that battle that day, and it had a direct effect on Heineke and how he looked. So those are my 2 takeaways.
Yeah, I agree. I think we've seen this before. And I don't want to sound like it's a negative because I expect that the best player should touch on the offense should touch the football, and you should force the football to him when you can. So Lattimore and the Saints defense, like you said, even when he got some help, they did their job. You know what I mean? Williams as a safety, he broke up a couple plays over top when Terry did get open, and there was some situations where Terry was open, even in a 2 deep situation. But Heineke's arm isn't the strongest arm, so he floats things at times in that little crease. If you're playing cover 2 or 2 deep, when you're in that little crease where you have that opportunity to make that throw, he couldn't make that throw. But like you said, you said it though. You knew this game was going to happen eventually. And I said this before prior to the game that the Saints, they have a good defense, not a solid. They have a good defense. So this is probably, other than Buffalo, like the second. Buffalo defense and Saints defense are pretty about the same. They're like those are 2 best defenses he's seen.
I will say that Buffalo prior to Sunday.
Prior to that game,
I feel like their schedule was very, very weak in terms of the offenses that they were facing.
Who, Buffalo? Prior to Kansas City. I got you. But I agree. But you see those.
They answered a lot of questions.
Yeah, they answered the question. But you know what I mean? I'm just saying, like, for what it is, those are the 2 best defenses he seen. So you knew he's going to struggle. I had a good idea he's going to struggle because you're playing one of the best cornerbacks in football. So everything is not going to be easy for Scary. You know what I mean? He can get open, but everything won't be easy. You know what I'm saying? So that's one thing. Obviously, Landon Collins, the way he plays, he's playing safety. And Mo, I like Landon. I do. I really do. I like Landon Collins. Like I root for the guy, but it is what it is. It gets to a point where it ain't cutting it, and you ain't cutting it on this defense. And we can say, and I've stated this already, that I don't think he's been utilized correctly. But if you're going to utilize him this way, then he shouldn't be on the field. Yeah, as a safety.
Right.
If you want to do whatever, folks talk about linebacker or whatever, it should be on the field as a safety. It should be, you had success with Reeves and Curl last season as your safeties. You didn't have this issue. You had good communication. You may want to go back to that. It goes. Right. So this is my issue with this team. I think everybody's been waiting for me to kind of go ham on the squad. The squad is playing like trash. The coaching staff has been trash. And we got to stop acting like this team's a good team. They play like a bad team. You can't check a Hail Mary. You always give it. I'm gonna say this again. You give up big plays when you're not even bringing an extra man. You're giving up big plays. Mm-hmm. Something has to change. It just has to change. And I'm not one of the people to rush out and say, "Oh, you got to fire this, that, and the other." But you got to start warning people, and you got to start letting people know. You know, if you want to be this organization that everyone talks about, like, "Oh, this team could be," you know, we want to have a model like a respectable franchise like New England Patriots or any other champions that's out there in football, right? You always want to model yourself after champions, you know, or contenders, the Ravens, right? The Patriots, the Steelers. You want to model yourself after these organizations. Well, they hold their players accountable. That's the issue. They hold their players accountable. They don't let contracts dictate who you are. Mm-hmm. You're letting contracts dictate who you put on the football field. Gilmore is one of the best cornerbacks in football. Were the Patriots pressed to re-sign him? Because were they pressed?
I understand.
Were they? And they need talent and they need players.
I understand, but if there's one franchise that's going to do that,
it's the Patriots. But I know but they're playing. But there are players. There are organizations that aren't going to let. All right, I'm using that as a contract in terms of letting somebody go. I'm not saying you got to let him go, but there are organizations that are like, you know what? I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're not playing well. You're going to sit. Pete Carroll is a Seattle Seahawks. Pete Carroll, when he took the job in Seattle, he signed Flynn, and everyone thought and gave Flynn a good deal, nice contract from Green Bay Packers. Drafted a boy named Russell Wilson. Preseason, he was like, Russell looked better than Flynn. Russell gonna be my starting quarterback.
I gotta go with him.
Yeah, so it gets to a point where you gotta go to homie. I paid you, man. You make some good bread right now, homie. You making good bread. But you know what? You ain't outplaying this dude right here, and you ain't playing good.
I understand, Wole.
Yeah,
I understand. But if nobody wants to intertwine with you in a trade,
yeah, then you sit there,
right?
Yeah.
Landon Collins. Cutting him this year was going.
I ain't saying cutting him. I just sit him. I'm not even saying cut him. But I'm saying sit him.
Well, the man got 3 more years additional to this year left on his contract.
You had a first round. I'm saying you had a first round pick, a first round quarterback pick, and
hear me out.
And I'm with you. I'm listening to you. I'm gonna hear you out. I'm gonna hear you out. You fair?
Hear me out.
Yeah, I'm here.
After the 72-yard touchdown,
yeah,
they bumped him down. Played a lot.
Yeah, I know. He's a lot of linebacker.
He played like 60-70% more linebacker.
Yeah, I saw it.
And he was formidable.
Yeah.
Right? I think the conversation is not about benching. The conversation is about being multiple and helping this defense in a way that he might not have thought he could help this defense. Yeah. Right? Yeah. So that's what I don't think the linebacker core is good enough.
It's not. Right?
It's not. He's a liability in coverage in the secondary, but he's too much of an asset against the run and closer to the line of scrimmage. He's
way better. Agreed. I agree. I totally agree with that.
So the first thing I would say is had a conversation about playing nickel and dime linebacker more.
Yeah.
More. And still getting a couple of reps at safety just to appease him. You gotta get out of this year.
Look, bro, I'm not even.
You got to get out of this year. Plus, a second addition to that is you need to have enough good tape for him to be tradable. Because I don't think it's out of the spec
from the
to
trade
think that he's going to get traded by the trade deadline November 2nd.
Yeah, I know. Right? That's too much bad tape, bro. It's just too much bad tape.
But now he has 3 weeks now. Put him closer to the line. Have him play some linebacker. Have him allow some people to go to bed, Wole.
Okay.
You have to exhaust everything with this contract.
I feel you. But I'm just saying,
this contract is crazy.
No, I agree with you. But that's so much bad tape. I don't even know. If I'm a GM, bro, I'm like, man, I give you a 6. I mean, I ain't give you nothing more than that. Like, you need a 6.
The man made about 50 some odd $1 million in the
Gilmore got you a 6th round. You had Gilmore as a 6th rounder.
6th rounder, but you know that's Bill Belichick's ego.
I know. But he done mess up the market. Yeah, man, he done mess up the market. I'm not trading. Every time we landed college 4th, I'm like,
earlier that day, Gilmore was gone for free.
Yeah, I know.
Until the 4 o'clock marker, he was like, you know what?
I thought he was gone. I know what happened. I thought he was on. They said trade. I was like, wait a minute, trade.
Let me tell you what Carolina did. Carolina inquired. They were like, we come, whatever. Bill Belichick probably went to Gilmore and was like, what do you think about Carolina? Gilmore was like, well, I'm from South Carolina. I mean, he's like, all right.
I'm saying, man, like, yo, you do the same thing.
The last time he got a 6th round, the last time he's a famous coach now because of a 6th round pick. So you know how. Yeah,
I mean, facts. That's fair. He is.
So I got to get good tape on Landon. I got to get as best tape as I can on Landon to see if I got a trade market in a couple of weeks.
Look, man, I'm not even real talk. Right? I don't even want to blame. I mean, I feel like I'm blaming Landon. And Landon, I'm sorry. If you watch the show, I'm sorry. Like, I don't want to blame because I think I stated this on the show, Landon. If you have been watching the show, I have stated on this show that I think that Washington should use you like the Seahawks use Jamal Adams, but they're not. And I understand some frustration with that. If I'm you can't cover. I'm sure that you shouldn't be covering wide receivers like that. Like, I know you probably think that. Like, I'm sure you think that. Like, no disrespect. For me, like when I'm playing basketball, I'm checking a young dude, and I'm like, and he got bounce, he got quickness line, loud quickness. I'm like, I shouldn't be checking him. I shouldn't be. Like, I'm 40. Like, why am I checking this dude? Like, it makes no sense. Yeah, why am I over here? You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm sure you're saying to yourself, like, why am I checking like Devontae Harris? Like, why am I checking this dude? Like, why am I the one on the? Why? Like, you're like, of course, dude. I could hesitate and I ain't gonna get there. Like, it didn't matter. Like, I ain't gonna hesitate.
The thing with Landon since Alabama, he's nosy.
Yeah.
And as a coach, you got to know that that's his tendency.
Yeah.
His tendency is to play the run
over. He's gonna bite.
Or to get in there and get involved in the mix, right? And you're talking about a former All-Pro. You're talking about somebody. He should have been Defensive Player of the Year that year.
Yeah. He was a beast that year. He was a beast that year. He was a beast that year. He was. He definitely was.
And I think Spagnuolo employed such a way to use him that put all his skills to.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
And you're right, and you're so right. And also, I want to add this too. I don't want to cut you off, but I want you to add this too. We all marvel that he looked how he looked in camp, just coming off the Achilles, but because he's just coming off an Achilles,
right?
All right, like you're making he's doing all this, and he's just coming off an Achilles. Like, let's relax. Like, okay, come on now.
Okay. So that leads me to a bigger issue.
Yeah,
since we're not blaming Landon. Yeah, it has to be Jack Del Rio.
That's what I'm saying, bro.
So they gave up another 30-point game the other day. Should the defensive coordinator, Jack Del Rio, be on the hot seat, won't it?
Yeah, he should be on the hot seat. Dan Rowe should be on the hot seat. Like, I don't even get why Ron is this thing has to stop. Like, there's every game is either you give them 400 yards, like the Chargers got like 400 yards of total offense on you, and everything else is like 30 plus. Like, it's a problem. Like, this is not like, stop. Like, we losing confidence. I heard Ron say, I think players are losing confidence. Like, that's your problem. Like, that's your problem. You're not instilling confidence in these dudes. You having them do stuff they're not supposed to be doing. Like, put them in a position to be successful. They can have confidence. You got a rookie linebacker in Jamin Davis, who I think probably got like 13 freaking snaps on Sunday. Like, they scored 33 points, bro. They scored 33 points. Give that dude some work. Like, it gets to a point, like, you got to get this dude some work. Like, it goes against the whole thought process of grooming a young dude. He's a first rounder. Then if you're going to draft that, no, this is to your point, Mo. If you're going to do that, then you ain't do your homework. Like, you ain't do your homework to draft. Like, if you thought that this kid can't even get on the football field and your linebackers aren't even elite, and you ain't gonna put them on the field, like your linebacker. Let me say this again: your starting linebackers were Bostic, Holcomb, and Jamin Davis, right? Those are supposed to be your 3 linebackers. And other coverages, right? Like, you have 2 linebackers, it's Bostic and Holcomb. Like, are you freaking serious? Like, is he that bad? Then if he's that bad, real talk, as a first rounder, you shouldn't have drafted him because you get that in the third round. You get in the third round and you can make a project out of that. So I don't want to hear that crap. So it's either you didn't do your homework, which it sounds like you didn't do it, or you just give that boy give him a chance to fail. Like, you're not giving him a chance to fail. And that's my issue. It's like, if he's on the Baltimore Ravens and their defense is number one, and you don't want to mess up the church's money, then I get it. But you got a last place defense, and this dude ain't getting burned. That is a problem. That is coaching. Get that dude in the field. I don't care if he messes up five. I don't care if he messes up like 5 straight plays. I don't even care. Because you got Landon messing up 5 straight plays, and you don't care. You got Fuller messing up. You got Fuller messing up a lot, and you don't care. So I don't want to hear that. Like, put that boy on the field. Let him make mistakes, because we've seen, and I'm a big believer in this as a basketball coach or whatever. When I see this dude on the field and he gets snaps, he improves to me every time I see him. So I know this kid has the knowledge to learn when he's on there. Experience is this dude's thing. Like, he needs experience to learn. Okay, I messed up here, so next week I'm gonna learn from there. I'm gonna do this. Put this kid on the freaking field, like Del Rio Rivera. I don't know what you doing, but that ain't working for me, bro. That ain't working for me.
I said it before the draft that he was a one-year wonder in college who was a backup that ended up playing because the starter got hurt. He had a great season. But I said it before the draft that I think the hype around him, because of his specimen that he is and the way that he can move, I thought that the hype around him superseded the talent that he was. And I feel like that's how this coaching staff is occupying it. It's as if there's a disconnect with something that he doesn't know. But that's their job to teach him.
It's a job to teach.
If they're not going to teach, I mean, he needs to be on the field. He's a top 20
field.
He's a top 20 pick. He has to be on the field.
Bro, there's things that, all right, you know what? We just talked about it. They're losing talent. They're losing confidence. All right. You know what you do with a young boy like that then? If he can't cover, when you get him out, put him on blitzing down. Let him go get the quarterback.
Let him go get the quarterback. And play him on early downs. So
early downs. Let him. That builds confidence. All this stuff that you talk again, if we talking about getting playing time over top tier linebackers, then I would be with you. I would be like, all right, you can't force the young boy in. You know what I'm saying? You wouldn't draft him as a first round pick, but still, I wouldn't force you to put the young boy in. Mm-hmm. But your linebackers aren't this your weakest unit, all right, on your defense, supposedly. Mm-hmm. Your weakest unit on your defense. Play him. You're giving up 30 anyway. You're giving up 30. It doesn't even matter.
I wholeheartedly agree. If Jack Del Rio can't turn this around and make this formidable with the talent that they have because of just playing outside of what the team's best skill set is, then he deserves to be fired. He deserves to be fired, and they need to bring somebody in here that's gonna use the players to the best of their ability and get something out of them, right? Because this is to go from the number 2 defense in the league last year.
I don't care. Number 2, and then tomorrow
number 2 to 32.
And Mo, we talk, and you use this line all the time, and you're right to a certain, like, even, I mean, if we keep the buck, like, you know, the quarterbacks you saw in that stretch. But even that though, when they were seeing decent, they weren't this bad. They didn't look like this. They look like this, and then I've always made this argument, like, even like they were good. It's just they had bad quarterback play. Like, they had quarterbacks turn the ball over literally at like within like the red zone or something like that. Dwayne would turn the ball over, and then so offense would start right there, and they would just score. They would hold an opposing offense down for a minute, and they get tired because they're on the football field too long. This right now is something totally different. You know what I'm saying? Like,
scoring on first possessions,
they moving easily. It don't matter what quarter. Jameis wasn't even throwing the ball before he came to DC. Wasn't even throwing the ball for 200. He was getting like 150, 160. He ends this game looking like a beast. Forget the hell. You could say fluke plays, whatever. And at the end of the day, that Bama had like 4 touchdowns or whatever. Like, he still had like close to 300 yards. Best game of his NFL season so far. You look at Daniel Jones was one of his best when he played against prior to Washington. He was iffy. Then he had his best game, and then he's had some good games after. But like, that's what I'm saying. It gets to a point now where like, I don't want to hear this crap about, you know, what we compare, like last season they played somewhat. Nah, this defense is so bad compared to that though. This is the issue. Like, I don't want to hear about what they were 7-9. There's levels to it. It's the way you play and it's the way you play. You can lose for real. They could lose. They could be 0. They're 2-3. Say they're 0-5 and they were competing all tough games and like they were competing. They were playing solid football throughout that process. I can pretty much accept certain things. I'd be like, yeah, they just short and they just running the short of the stick. They playing good football, but they just falling short. Because even in the victories, you ain't happy with it. Mm-hmm. Like if you want to keep it a buck, you ain't happy with the Giants. If you really watching it, you ain't happy with the Giants game. You ain't happy with the Atlanta game. Because you should have lost both of them games.
The Falcons game was an ugly one. It didn't even feel like.
Yeah, it didn't feel like a win. None of them games felt like a win. And you could, and real talk, you should be 0-5. Just keep this a buck. You should be 0-5.
2 or 3 plays away from it.
Yeah, so I'm just saying. So it is what I'm telling you, as a fan, I'm sorry. Like, yo, this coaching staff got to do better because they ain't holding their weight. You can say whatever. You ain't holding your weight.
Speaking of the coaching staff, man, let's take it to the other side of the ball. We talked about Del Rio being on the hot seat. Now, there's 2 ways we can think about this, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Arguably, Taylor Heineke had the worst game of the season so far on Sunday.
Yeah.
Are we placing more blame on Scott Turner, or are we placing blame on Heineke for the output on Sunday?
I kind of think that he's Scott Turner putting a lot of pressure on Taylor Heineke. No one's thinking that Heineke is like Aaron Rodgers, Drew Brees, who retired, Peyton Manning, who retired, but Tom Brady, any of these dudes, and he's not elite, right? My point, he's not Justin Herbert, he's not Lamar Jackson, what we've seen. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? He's a solid quarterback. Like solid, nothing wrong with being solid. He should be like a game manager. I know he hates that term, but he should be a game manager. But I feel like the play calling is not showing that. Like your play calling is dictated like he is one of them dudes. You know what I'm saying? Like he's a guy that can just air it out. You know what I'm saying? And you can't trust him. Like you see, for instance, look at what New Orleans does with Jameis. Like they rein him in. Like they make sure. They rein him in like, hey, bro, we know you can turn the football over. We know you can. So we're gonna put your situations not to turn the football over.
You're not messing this up for us.
Yeah, you ain't exactly. Because we trust our defense. Like we don't need you putting them in a jacked up situation. Mm-hmm. But you have a team that if you look at what Gibson does, he may not get all he is touting the ball, he's touting the rock. Like he's getting you average yards to carry, he's over 4+ yards to carry. So that tells me like, yo, he can run the rock. Now health is an issue, but you still could share the wealth. You could run McKissick you can run McKissick. You can run Patterson. Like you can run your backs instead of like trying to throw the ball all third. Like you was at 1st and goal and you threw the ball all 3 times. Or 3 passes. I'll put it this way: you threw the ball all 3 times. You had 3 design passing plays all 3 times. Heineke ended up running the ball, but you had 3 design passing plays. You know what I'm saying? Like that's a problem to me, bro. Like your quarterback ain't that guy. Like you got to stop treating him like if he throw the ball 45 times, it's a problem. Like it shouldn't be designed that way. His team shouldn't be designed that way. I know you got a dog and scary. That's great. He's amazing. Like I said, you gotta find a way to feed him the ball, but there's ways you can still go about it. The Washington football team, when they had Joe Gibbs as a coach, the SEC 2.0, they had Santana Moss, who was a dog, but they still ran the football a lot. And they made sure they got, you know what I'm saying? They made sure they fed him, but they ran the football a lot. They fed Clinton Portis.
I will say the difference with that was Clinton Portis was elite before he came to DC.
Yeah, he was.
Gibson is showing us some flashes, and I think we'd all agree that he's hitting the hole a little better this year.
Oh yeah, definitely hitting. Yeah,
it comes with some creativity too, right?
And what's some creativity? Yeah,
but like if we're speaking generally for just this game, he played a great front. Cam Jordan's still on that front.
Yeah,
they got still on that front. Demario Davis is in that front 7, right?
Yeah.
So they got some dogs in that front.
Oh, they stopped the run. They up there stopping the run. They up there stopping the run. But he still had a good game. Huh?
What?
No, but he still had a decent game running football. Like, but you didn't feed him. Like, you just don't feed. Like, it's a mindset.
I can't agree with that though. Mm-hmm. I'll tell you why.
Wow, what's up?
Yeah, he finished the game with 20 carries.
All right.
That's the most carries he's had all season.
Yeah.
He ended up with 60 yards at a 3-yard per rush.
No, I'm saying, that's true. I know. There's I'm gonna go ahead.
But I'm looking at the defense that he played.
Yeah.
And to score 2 touchdowns against them, I feel like
it's a solid game.
It was a decent game.
Yeah.
It was a decent game. I think there was some runs left out there.
Yeah, I mean, there definitely were some
left out there, right? And like I feel outside of the 5 times Heineke ran, the team ran the ball 28 times.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like in situational running, because we talk about situational running, it's not all.
I don't think the balance was there the way that we would like.
Yeah, it's just like
you had thrown the ball 41 times.
Yeah, it's way too much, man. It's just way too much. You gotta
be like 30 and 30.
Yeah, just shorten it up. Like you gotta shorten the time of possession. Like you're throwing the ball way too much, man. You're treating them like
he's a great quarterback.
Yeah, he's not a great quarterback. And it's not a knock on him. No one expects him to be great, but you can't do it. Like you're trying to audition him to be something that he's not. You know what I'm saying? Like you didn't even do this with Alex. Like you didn't even do this with Alex, who's a more of a proven commodity in terms of winning football games. Like,
and I feel like that's where a lot of the frustration for some of the fans come in terms of the ego of this coaching staff.
Yeah.
Right. And they can't understand it. Terry McLaurin was mitigated this game for the first time all year, 4 for 46, 11 targets his way. So he was forced the ball. It just wasn't.
And you saw it. He was forced. Yeah. You saw it.
I think Humphreys had his best game of the season with 3 catches and 73 yards. Yeah. I probably would like to see him go back over there a couple of times.
He didn't, but he wasn't looking at Humphreys.
Made a couple of plays.
Yeah.
I think that Scott Turner tried to get creative with the runs. I seen Patterson had 4 carries.
He did towards the middle.
Carter and Samuel had a carry apiece trying to get some misdirection going. And JD McKissick had 2. So I think he used the gauntlet of his players that he had in the run.
No, he definitely used them. He used them. It's just about timing.
I think the loss of Sheriff before this game clearly had an impact on this, and the loss of Cosme.
Yeah, Cosme hurt.
That's a part that nobody wants to talk about. Cosme and
Brandon
Sheriff were out. So that's going to affect your run game, however you want to look at it. Even though the team does have depth and they have
some bodies. They got Lucas.
They got
Lucas. Started a lot of games last year. Did well.
He played a lot last year, but it's different when you're coming in relief versus being prepared. Of course. You know what I mean? And I think that had a great impact on the game and the rushing effort, because the numbers, there's enough numbers there. 33 carries, even though Heineke's 5 are not all design runs. So
yeah, they're not.
So we'll say 28 designed runs.
Yeah,
I think that was enough carries to go around. The team averaged 4 yards a carry.
I mean, I just feel like it's situational running. It's just, to me, it's all about situational running. Like you're for first and goal from whatever. You're like first and goal. You all passing plays. Like, come on, man. Like, I just feel like
you should be running.
You should be running
to get closer on the play action.
Play action, exactly. So if you're all the time are in passing formation without any deception, you're gonna make it tough. And it's not like you're. And then I had an issue even that. It's like you didn't even, all of your receivers in the red zone were no knock on anybody. Like you didn't have anybody tall to get a contested pass other than like
all the Smurfs.
Yeah, all the Smurfs. I mean, other than your tight end, but it's not the same as throwing the ball to Logan Thomas, and Logan Thomas has super height. So it's just like you're not even doing anything easy in the red zone. I just had issues with the whole game.
They brought up AGG
and didn't even use him in it. Like, if anything, we saw him preseason, forget using him. Saw him being used in like in the middle of the field. Anything, just utilize him in the red zone. Take that advantage. Like, I just did. There were just a lot of guys. Yeah, just like I just didn't get. I didn't get anything they were doing. I mean, I got a lot of issues with Scott Turner. It is what it is. But just, I feel like you got to know your strength of your team, and this team ain't even strong enough. But I heard this on the radio. I'm all about, as a coach, instilling confidence. On the radio show, the Junkies, local radio show, Coach Rivera said, you almost want to say, I wish 7-9 last year wouldn't have been enough to win the division. That way, expectations would have been much lower and been a little easier. My man Mo, your thoughts on that, bro?
I mean, I've been beating that drum for a long time. Yeah. I've been beating that drum for a long time. And just the way that Alex played last year, and that being the 5 games out of the 7 that you won.
Yeah.
And right. And then the defense playing at an abnormal rate, but then turning around. I was looking at the level of competition in which they played, like truly
Yeah.
Well, if we go back and we look back at that the schedule last year, and we look back at the quarterbacks that they face.
Yeah.
It's nothing like the quarterbacks that they're facing this year.
Yeah, definitely.
Nothing.
Definitely.
And prior to this year, they had never beat Daniel Jones. So coming into this year, Daniel Jones to the Washington football team had to be considered an elite quarterback just for that game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just for that game. So he wasn't even one of the elite quarterbacks to think of, to make mention of. But his history versus this team would make him just that weak. Yeah. And we seen it in the game. He went for almost 300 yards and almost they took away a 55-yard rushing touchdown, and he still had 90 yards rushing, right? So it seems like when he played this defense, he always has a good game. So when I looked at the schedule coming up this year, I was like, okay, Daniel Jones has beat them every time. So even though he's not an elite quarterback, he plays elite versus this team.
Yeah.
I'm looking at Herbert, I'm looking at Daniel Jones, I'm looking at Josh Allen.
Matt
Ryan, former MVP. Josh Allen, MVP runner-up last year. Herbert looking like a future MVP.
Yeah.
We're not gonna say anything, but Jameis, a former first-round pick, pick of the draft. We just say that.
Hey, games he threw for like over 5. Season we threw like some crazy yards.
He got some talent. Yeah. But we really talking about the big dogs. We talking about Patrick Mahomes. We talking about Aaron Rodgers coming down. We talking about got to play Dak twice a year. Talking about before Russell got hurt, having to play Russell, playing a formidable Teddy Bridgewater. You know what I mean? The schedule was just really, really tight for me when I first saw it.
Yeah.
And, and I was just wondering, like, could it be duplicated? Because it's hard to duplicate number 2 in the league type defense without having stalwarts.
Yeah.
We're talking about the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Ravens, those defenses that stayed up there every year. They had stalwarts all up and down those teams. This team had some good players up front. Linebackers always been a question, and they were bringing in a lot of pieces in the secondary. Yeah. And one of the key pieces in the secondary was coming off an injury. So it left a lot in my mind, and people thought I was hating because I'm a Giants fan, but I know a bad football team when I see one because the Giants are one. And I was watching the way you guys competed against the Giants last year and all the additional things. And I'm like, this is not going to be good if they face some formidable quarterbacks, because there was a lot of close games last year that the offense wasn't generating any type of points, but the defense held it down for extended periods.
Exactly. That's my point. That's my exactly point.
The defense might have 1 or 2 slip-ups.
Yeah, but it wasn't like this.
It's too much to ask the defense to do week in and week out.
Yeah.
So I've always felt like that 7 and I thought the worst thing that can happen was the hype around the 7 and 9. But I gotta understand, there was a coach coming off of cancer. There's a franchise that was long awaiting a playoff appearance once again. I think it had been 4 years since Kirk Cousins left. Yeah. You're talking about a franchise that had some losing seasons. The success was it didn't look that good, but it was success nonetheless.
Yeah.
Success nonetheless. So people gonna get behind that. You had this amazing comeback story with
2 cases, and Rivera with the cancer, not comeback.
People could not fall in love with, and you had a changing of the guard in terms of the regime. And
that was too.
You had a coach that was coming in with some credentials, so it was hard not to fall in love with that ride. But knowing that was too much like a fairy tale to continue again, I just didn't think that it was going to be easy to duplicate. And here we are now. I don't think nobody expected the defense to play this bad. Even if they played bad, we probably thought 15 or 16 in the league.
That's what I'm saying. This is what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about.
But it's like the tires are completely falling off the wagon right now.
Yeah.
And here you are again with another quarterback conundrum. You have an unproven commodity there that you wasn't expecting to start. You brought in a starter that you got everything ready for all season. He goes out first game. It's just like another hit after hit after hit. We haven't even got down to the quarterbacks yet. Yeah. So I hope the team can turn it around. I think football is better when the Washington football team is good. I think there's certain teams that the NFC East has historically been good.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
When those teams in the NFC East aren't good, I don't think it's good football.
Football suffers. No, I agree. No, totally agree. Totally agree.
Mm-hmm. So Ron saying that, I believe he's starting to settle in. And I guess whatever idea they have for this team, he's starting to see that certain things may have been a little bit more inflated than they presumed.
I feel like, this is the thing. I feel like it's an easy cop out for him. This is my belief. This is only it is what it is. I feel like, to your point, yeah, I mean, there are certain things, but again, I mean, you watch football, we all watch football. I'm not even talking about that run that you're referring to when they got to the postseason. I'm talking even prior when they were losing football games. And it's always what your team was leading your squad. Like no one, for instance, the Baltimore, I'm using Baltimore as an example because we know, because they're a proven commodity, right? Mm-hmm. If Baltimore's defense was struggling, when Ray Lewis was there, no one's gonna say we needed Trent Dilfer to hold us down. Because you expect what for your defense to be what it is. All right. So I'm not even saying this defense is Baltimore, but what I'm saying is that even watching that defense last season, when they played the Browns, they played Russell and made Russell Wilson work, and Russell didn't have the best game against them. This is when they played some of the good quarterbacks. Matt Stafford didn't have a great game against them, but he had like one play. And then you had Chase Young who made that stupid play to get him the field goal range to lose the football game. They played good quarterbacks and still held their own, right? Held their own. This is what bad offensive play. Even the Rams, that game against the Rams, the offense didn't kill them. It was just they couldn't do anything, like with Jared Goff. Like, so they've had good games, played good games against solid offenses. They played well against solid offenses. The issue last year at that point in time was their offense was just trash, and it couldn't do anything. Like, so for instance, if your offense isn't, and you're not the Chicago Bears defense, you're not the Baltimore Ravens defense. If you're a good defense and your offense is turning the football over, and you're on a full football field all day, and then you're holding your own, eventually you're going to break. You're going to break, but you respect your defense for that. At least this season, right? Using this season as an example, because I'm using in increments this season as an example, your offense can score some points. I'm not saying they're awesome, but they score 30, they score 20 some odd points. But your defense has been trash all the way around, and it's been bad. And like you said, Mo, like you brought in new weapons, this, that, and the other. But there's a philosophy situation where there's things that weren't happening last season that are happening this season. Like we talk about, like you chose to go the route of not playing Reeves and Cam Curl, which was working good for you. You chose that route. That is a coach's choice, right? That worked for you. That's a coach. I know you said contract. I get you, but it's not like it's not an option. So for instance, you're a coach. Like something that worked for you, right? It worked for you in your back end or whatever you're coaching, basketball, whatever, something worked for you. You feel obliged to go a different route because of whatever it is. But you do have something that did work for you. You chose that route. So I'm not going to feel sorry for you because you chose that route. That's the route you chose. Now, granted, like Darby leaving, that's something totally different. That's money. That's not in your control. But you got dudes in the building that you can slide in that played a certain role that was effective for you, but you chose to go a different route. I'm not going to say anything, but I ain't going to even, that's your route. But to back to what the Rivera thing, what annoyed me, what he said was that, bruh, you're a competitor. Like you're supposed to be, you play football, you coach football, you coaching men in that locker room. So now like you telling them, oh yeah, I'd rather be like, I wish we never went, I wish maybe being 7-9 was bad and making the postseason. Bruh, like what are you saying about this unit now that you're coaching up? You're saying you don't believe in them? You saying they not worthy of making a run? Like the message you said, even if you believe it, you don't say it because you a leader. Like it goes to you a leader. If you're a competitor and you believe, because everybody believes.
Right, but there's different ways to lead. I will argue for coach's point because I'm that kind of coach. Yeah. We grew up African. Our parents' expectations are expectations. Yeah. You don't get applause for expectations. Yeah. Right. Like things that you expected to do, you do that, and that's that. Yeah. Now, I think when he said that it may have been a bad thing to make the playoffs at 7 and 9, I think he feels that this team feels a certain way about itself that it's not aligned with his overall vision for what it is that he wants. And I think it took after the season to notice that. And I think it took some of this season to notice that. I can understand your cop-out part. I can understand why I can understand that wholeheartedly. Because as a leader of men, whatever you earn, because it's not given to you, whatever you earn, you earn. You go in the jungle and you go get some, whatever you bring back, that's what you eat.
Because don't say, but always it's action whatever you do. So if you really believe that, then you wouldn't have believed that. And this is just keep it a buck. If you really believe that, and you believe that it's going to be a hard challenge, right? You wouldn't have got Ryan Fitzpatrick to be your starting quarterback.
Tell me more.
You wouldn't, because you would have known. Your thought process of getting Ryan Fitzpatrick is that you felt that your team, your defense was good enough to carry that. Like there would have been other quarterbacks you would have targeted than Ryan Fitzpatrick. You would have probably targeted. You could have targeted Jared Goff and make sure you got Jared Goff. There's quarterbacks you could have targeted to bring in here. Like, not to say you was gonna get them, but if you really believed it, if you believed it, I'm not even saying going after. I'm not even saying like Deshaun, Deshaun Watson. I'm not even saying guys like that. I'm saying like if you really believed that this is a rebuild type of thing, or you would have maybe tried to go quarterback in the draft. If you really believe,
think he thinks but that's what I think. I think two things can be true. I don't think he thinks this is a rebuild, but I do think that he thinks that this team is not as good as they thought they were because they made the playoffs last year. Making the playoffs means something. And that's why I said what I said. Yeah. Right. If you make the playoffs, people all of a sudden,
all the time, definitely,
they don't care nothing about what the record was.
They don't care. They don't care
because winning the division is your first goal.
Yeah,
and you completed that task. It's not your fault the division is trash.
Yeah,
right. So, I think it's just some other things came into play that has coach questioning.
You should question, but you should question. My thing is that, bro, you should question yourself because I'm gonna be real. Like you watch the product. It's not about. Sometimes I told you, we talk. Sometimes it's not about wins and losses. It ain't always about wins and losses. It's about the product and how you play. You played a better product, and not even because of competition. I'm not even talking about competition. Your style, the way you played, was better run. Like everything was better, even in your tough part of the schedule. The only Bama that I could tell you, there's two people that killed them, and I expected to kill them on their defense was Kyler Murray and Lamar Jackson. Like, who really went ham. Like, them dudes ain't nothing they could do with it. If you look at that product in terms of how they played defense, in terms of not having quarterbacks, even Daniel Jones beat them, but Daniel Jones wasn't throwing for 400 yards. He ran, but he wasn't throwing for 300, 400 yards. You know what I'm saying? The first game was like, what's his name? What's his face? Bruce. He could get the field goal, to go to overtime. He chose to go for two. Yeah. So I mean, they were competitive. Like it wasn't even like whatever. I'm just telling you. Yeah, exactly. They gave up. Like they played that Giants team better. You know what I'm saying? Even in their the one they won. That game they played them better, and they lost. You get what I'm saying? Like my issue is like they aren't the way they're playing football. Forget the wins and losses. Like we could throw that out the book. The product, the way and I mean talk offense because I don't even want to talk about their offense. Their unit is supposed to be their defense. That is their unit. It's supposed to be led by the defense. We know this. We talked about this prior to the season. We said this team will be led by their what? Their defense. The unit that they're supposed to be led by is far worse. And it's not even, you could say new people, new folks are coming in. At the end of the day, your core dudes that you rely on are still there. Chase Young, Montez Sweat, Allen, Payne, you got Ioannidis. You got your core. We even said it before the season started, like your linebacker shouldn't even have to do that much work because you're playing with these dudes, because they're playing with these dudes. So this issue is something that, you made, like you're making excuses hard. Coach it up. Because you made it for some strange reason, it's harder. It is harder, but you still got the same. You got the talent on that defensive front that you prided yourself on. You know what I'm saying? You got that talent that you pride yourself on. You got to make it work. Like you have to make it work. It's harder because you're not. It is harder, but the product isn't the same. Like for some strange reason, it isn't the same.
Well, the product is going to be put to the test on Sunday, right?
So Sunday, that's what I'm saying.
Let me tell the folks what they just jumped into, man. Y'all are listening to All Burgundy and Gold, everything with the urban sports scene. Is Wole and Mo here. Yes. We just spoke about the New Orleans Saints game. Recap that. We're gonna look forward to the Chiefs coming.
Yes, sir.
No, the Chiefs coming into town, right?
The Chiefs coming to town. Damn right, they coming to town.
Chiefs are coming into town.
Patrick Mahomes. Okay?
Patrick Mahomes and the
light-skinned assassin.
Landover. They're coming to Landover this Sunday. Question to you. Since they're coming into town, who do you have winning and why?
I have Kansas City winning, obviously. And why? Yo, I'm terrified of Cheetah. Man. I just think that we talk about like the miscommunication in the secondary, and it's a perfect storm. What I mean by that is, like, you're not going to bring pressure. So, and this unit has already been shown that if you give a quarterback time, they can go deep. You know what I'm saying? And they can get open. And the wide receiver can get open. And we all know you can't give Cheetah, like, you can't get Cheetah any time because Cheetah won't get there. And you can't get Patrick Mahomes any time because he's gonna wait for Cheetah. He's gonna air that thing out. And he can outrun coverage. Like, Cheetah could outrun coverage. So if you give Cheetah that much time, if you give Pat Mahomes that much time in the pocket that we've seen already from this team, Cheetah gonna have explosive plays. I'm sorry. When I'm talking about Cheetah, folks, I'm talking about Tyreek Hill. He's gonna have some explosive plays. So I don't know what it's a bad matchup to me. It really is a bad matchup. It's not a good one. Like, there's other matchups in quarterback play where you're like, even though they're elite, there's some things that kind of can work in your favor. This is a bad matchup. It's a perfect storm for some ugliness, some real ugliness.
Okay. I'm gonna go the opposite. I think because the matchup is so much in the Kansas City Chiefs' favor.
Yeah,
this is the type of game that scares the defensive coordinator into doing what he should have been doing from Jump Street.
That's what's up.
You see what I'm saying? I've seen that. I've seen teams play a team that they're not supposed to do well against, but eventually the defensive coordinator is like, you know what? Let me not try anything foolish today. We're gonna play as safe as possible, neutralize Tyreek, live with Kelsey underneath, and get it done. Right?
That's a problem too.
That's a whole nother problem.
That's a whole problem too. I ain't even mentioned that, boy, but that's a whole different problem.
That's just another way to look at it. I do not think that the Washington football team is going to win this game.
Of course not. Who would?
Especially after the drubbing that Kansas City just took on national TV.
They mad, bro. They mad.
Sunday night, they faced who they're probably going to have to see to get through, and they didn't look as good.
They got Baltimore. They did to them, and they mad. They not happy, man. They not. And the Chargers. They lose to the Chargers too. They lost the Chargers too. They not happy. They 3 games. They're like a 3-game losing streak. Am I correct? Or is it 2 games?
I don't know if it's a 3-game losing streak.
Okay, I know. All right. Sure. Yeah, whatever. But they're not happy.
They definitely lost the 3 teams that they're going to have to see to get through the AFC to get back to where they want to get. So.
Who's Washington, man?
The biggest, is there any mismatch that Washington can exploit in this game?
It's their defense, probably. That's about it.
I'm going back to 17. I'm going back to 17. They have nothing for 17 either.
They don't. That's fact. They don't.
They have nothing for 17.
They don't.
Especially if Chris Jones doesn't play in the middle. If he's out, that can allow a little bit more time for
Heineke. Yeah. I mean, I feel like their offense could score.
Right.
They could score against Kansas City because Kansas City defense isn't good.
Yeah, great.
But the problem is that regardless of the fact, like, Washington offense isn't prolific. So you're looking at a prolific offense.
Kansas City can get got though. Kansas City can get got. You can run on Kansas City. So
you can. You can run against Kansas City, but you gotta be willing to do it. Like, you gotta be willing to do it. So
but if they give Antonio Gibson 20 carries like they gave him last week, I expect a better output than 3 yards.
But you gotta do it differently. What I mean by that is you can give them 20, but you gotta do 20, but you gotta be willing. And I don't know if they smart enough to do it. I don't know if Scott Turner's smart. His dad was just smart enough because he was kind of under that whole ball possession thing.
Come on.
Like, if he can just they run the football and then, like, just let clock go down. Like, just, I mean, I know it's not a sexy thing to do, but it kind of wind the clock down.
To do what you've been saying the whole show.
Yeah,
they don't. Game. Control the ball. Help your defense by not letting 15 on the field.
Yeah, I'm serious. Don't let them on the field.
Defense by not letting
but they won't do it.
87 on the field.
Mo, they ain't gonna do it. They ain't gonna do it. They haven't done it. Look, I'm a believer in you show me who you are. Like I don't like that's like show me who they are. I ain't letting them off the hook, man. You can't be doing that. You can't leading this team off the book. They show who you are every week, bro. I'm telling you, Washington fans, don't let this squad fool you. All right, don't let them fool you. They gonna do the same thing.
Wole, I see a better effort this weekend.
What's up, man?
I see a more focused team because of the level of team that they have to play. Like seeing Kansas City on that rock, they probably were looking ahead to Kansas City last week. That's how dangerous Kansas City is.
You know what though? I would agree with that. I would, but then I remember like when I looked at Buffalo on the roster on the schedule, I was like, you should be up to play Buffalo because they was an AFC championship game and they gave Kansas City some work.
I'm not saying that
they can't with the championship game or whatever, but they ain't.
I'm not saying that they're up to play.
I'm
saying that there's enough to see that on the roster.
Oh, okay. So you're saying they should be. I got you. I understand. They should be hyping up to the Kansas City. Who we about to play against Pat Mahomes?
On their schedule for the coaches to be like, you know what? We got to have some sense this week. You know what I mean? Or this can get ugly quick.
It's going to get ugly quick. It's going to get ugly quick. I mean, they look, man. Like all right. I'm gonna give my pep talk to Washington. This is how I would.
I'm about to say, give me a positive. Come on.
I'm missing my pep to the Washington. This is how I'm gonna look at it. I'll be like, you know what? This team of Philadelphia, they played this team tough. They played them tough. Would you say their defense is have more talent than us? I wouldn't say that.
Nope.
I wouldn't at all. They made Pat Mahomes work. It's time to make folks work. All right. There's no more charity up in here. All right. Chase Young, what do you do, 99? You get sacks. That's what you do. You got a strip fumble last week. That's what you do. Montez, you have a sack almost every game. That's what you do. You want the elite pass rushers out here. Jay Allen, you got to put in that work. You a dog. You an Alabama boy. All you know about winning championships. Deron, same thing. You a champion. That's what you do. Landon used to be an MVP caliber defensive player. Where you at? I'm looking for you. You know, that's what I would do. I would talk to you like this. I'm like, hey, all right. JW3 stacks. J3 triple stacks. Hey, Cheetah talking to you right now. Cheetah right there, he talking to you. Cheetah talking to you.
You talked about Cheetah, so
I did. I'm about to tell him. I'm talking J3. I'm telling J3 triple stacks. Cheetah talking. I heard him talking already. He said he about to get up in that ass, bro. Are you about that life? Do you want that work? I'm telling you, bro. I believe you, though. I believe in you. It's time to make it happen. I gave you that money. I thought you was gonna lock mother down. It's time to lock folks down. I'm sweating out here. I'm sweating for what reason? Because I'm hyped for y'all. Let's get this work. They don't believe in us. They don't believe. They don't believe at all. Everybody thinking that KC gonna put 40, 50 on us. Well, from the urban sports team, they ain't gonna put 50 on y'all. It's time to believe. All right, now that's what I was talking about.
Hey, man.
That's what I was talking
about. That said, man, we're gonna see it all unfold on Sunday, man.
You know it, man.
Hey, listeners, man, subscribe to our podcast on Spotify, Stitcher, iTunes, and Google Podcasts. Search all Burgundy and Gold Errrything. Also, tweet us at Urban Sports Scene and hit us up on our Urban Sports Scene Facebook page.
Man, I had me sweat. I know, man. Y'all supposed to have me sweat, man. I thought it was wrong here. All right, man. Appreciate everybody for listening. Let me knock the sweat out. Anyway, you've been listening to All Burgundy and Gold Errrything with the Urban Sports Scene on Fox Sports Radio 96.9 FM and 1340 AM. Hopewell, Virginia, for ages. You need deuces. Hey, Mega. Lead us out, big homie.